cannot feel bad about being in certain groups in certain areas that are considered more well off and better off, and allowing people to tell you that that takes away from your blackness, because it actually doesn't. You're still black. You still have black experiences. You're never gonna not experience racism, colorism, and just the negative things that come with being black, which I'm not saying being black is bad, but anyone who's black can admit that you have had negative experiences around your race. Hi, I'm Miami, and welcome back to my channel. So today's topic is going to be about just like being whitewashed as a black girl in today's society. So there's like this saying when it's like, so you're too white for the black kids and too black for the white kids, which is actually, I think, a pretty good way to sum up like what it feels like, or like what the experience is of somebody who is black who has been considered as whitewashed. So that's kind of been my experience, and I recently heard other black girls on TikTok speaking about how they're whitewashed because they like wear straight weaves or wigs, or they straighten their hair. Like if they have long enough hair to straighten, they will straighten their hair, and it's seen as like a whiter style. Or they're thinner and they wear a certain style of clothes, or they speak in a certain manner that's associated with whiteness, even though it's just proper English, or the lack of certain slang, which doesn't mean you're white, because there's a lot of people that are black that just don't use slang. And so I grew up in a neighborhood that was predominantly white, but I went to a school that was not predominantly white for a while. Now most schools, of course, the majority of the schools would be white kids, but there was a lot of different groups of people of color in there, especially black people, which I did associate with a lot. I was always told I had like an attitude that seemed bougie or like white, which I never thought I did. I was more of a reserved, quiet, laid back girl. I wasn't necessarily like, I wouldn't say I behaved in a way that was reminiscent of a white woman. I behaved in a way that was just a black girl from the suburbs. Like I still had my black culture. That was still a big part of me. I never was completely absent from that at all. I just wasn't, for lack of a better word, like ghetto and loud. I was never that way, which I don't think is the way that all black girls are. And that's what this video kind of is the like stereotypes that if you don't fit those stereotypes, you're the whitewashed black girl. I don't believe that black women are just loud and ghetto. That's a negative thing to tell a young black girl she's not black enough because she's not fitting certain stereotypes. She doesn't have a certain body shape. She doesn't eat certain food. She doesn't behave a certain way. That doesn't take away her blackness. When her experience, my experience in my skin and the way people will treat me for how they see me is what you see right now. Somebody black. Like I'm not gonna pass for white. I'm not gonna pass for any other thing but black, because that's what I am. It is very negative because it creates a sense of confusion for identity. You're unable to figure out which group you belong to. Like, do I belong to these kids? I don't, like, it sounds dumb, but you're kind of trying to figure out, do I belong to the black group or the white group? I know for sure I don't. Like, it's, your personality may mesh with some white girls in a sense, but you're not a part of the white community. And it's even worse when you're outcasted from the black community, or seen as less black and less attractive to somebody who's attracted to black women because of the way you behave and the way you dress. Because I cannot relate to the white experience. Even if I behave as like what the stereotypical white girl would behave as, I can't relate to the white experience in any way. Like my skin color, my hair, my experiences with racism and colorism, those are not white experiences. So I don't have white experiences. So yeah, the lack of identity is very hard because you can't figure out where you belong. Including, I grew up in theater. So in theater, I grew up like doing D&D and stuff like that is seen as like the weird white kid stuff. So when you're a black girl that does certain activities, I also played tennis. I worked at a golf club and tried to learn how to golf. I love tennis, and those are seen as like white sports, like rich white sports. And I sit there and I'm like, these are just things I enjoy. They're not, in my mind, I don't feel white when I do these things. I don't feel anything. I just feel like somebody who's enjoying something that I like to do. Or like I've always wanted to learn how to surf, or like be in a kayak or something, and they're like, oh, those are like white sports. And I'm like, there's plenty of black people that enjoy those things, and they're probably scared to say they do because it's like a white thing to do. The other thing would be the like lack of friends. So I remember there was one girl, and she was, I'm not gonna be mad at her for this because she was like 14 at the time maybe, and because I was around 13, 14ish. I started high school when I was 13, so 13, 14 was this like girl's age because she was in my grade. But I remember her saying that I was white. Like she made a joke and she was like, oh, you don't even count, you're white. And I was like, I don't count for what? She was like, you know, like because there was a debate on who could like, and this is so stupid, on who could like say the N-word and who couldn't. And she's like, you know what, and it was like unwarranted, because I didn't raise my hand and say, oh I can, because I didn't necessarily curse or use that word regardless, not because I felt like I couldn't because I was like white, but because I just didn't like the word. And so she was like, you know, you don't even count because you're white. And I was like, am I missing something? Because as far as I can tell, from what I recall, unless I'm super tan, I was like, I'm actually not. But even if I was, like, even if that I did raise my hand to say that I'm black, I'm not. And no one has ever looked at me and confused me for anything else other than what I am. Wig, no wig, hair straightened, hair not straightened. No one's ever confused me for anything other than the race that I am. So that was very odd to me. I was very much taken aback when that comment was said. I was like, and then there were lots of boys and girls who would say that. Fast forward, I think about a junior in high school maybe, or probably a senior. Even now in college, I get the same comments, but especially from like a lot of guys. They're like, you know what, you're just not like the others. And I was like, the other what? Because this sounds really like 1826. I'm not like the others. Because there was one guy, I remember I was in high school, there was a black guy, I remember all the girls thought he was the like bee's knees. Now he looks like somebody's uncle. It's because he did a lot of like drugs and he drank all the time. I know, not a good, like, it does take a toll on you. And he played football, he was like fit, he was in top shape. Now he's not, he's just not anymore. But I remember he said that he normally doesn't date black girls, but he would date me. Mind you, I never asked him to date me. So I was like, again with the unwarranted comments, never asked you to date me, never asked if you'd be interested in doing so. I actually don't care, because I wasn't looking at anybody that way. I was trying to get through high school and pass. I did not graduate with the 4.2 GPA and dabbling in like stupid activities. I focused on my academics and moving on with my life, and that's how I got the grades I got. I didn't have time for that kind of stuff. But he basically said to me that like I wasn't like the rest. Like he wouldn't, like all the girls he's dated in the past, from what I've known from seeing him, because I was in cheer. So like the cheerleaders and the men that played sports, they tended to have to interact in some way, because we cheered for basketball and football and we had to interact in some way. And I got that comment a lot though, that I was like super white. Like I would have like the, like when I had longer hair and I'd straighten it, like, or like my like braids, I'd have them up in like ponytails, and like I did a mean silk press. But they'd be like, you know, you're different, you're not like all these other girls. And I was like, I don't know why that's a compliment. Like I don't know why that's seen as a compliment, because you're saying I'm different from my group, which makes me better, but that's my group of women that I've grown up around. My family is in that group of women. I'm not better than them, all because I was raised in a more, I guess, a more fortunate area, or a like an upper class area compared to them. I'm not better than them, all because of the money that my family has accumulated to live in a certain area. Not better than them. And my area wasn't even like the best area to live in. Like there were larger houses and bigger areas to live in. I just lived in a nice one that didn't have a lot of crime, and that I was surrounded by retired white people who saved up their money to buy nicer homes. And I loved it. I felt safe there. But I feel like it has shaped me in a way. I feel like what shaped me more, less or so being in that neighborhood, was just the fact that I listen and I am obedient in school. Because the reason why I am well behaved and not loud or ghetto is not because of being in a white neighborhood. It's because of the fact that I listen in school, and I've learned to, and I've been taught to follow directions and carry myself with a certain level of respect. It's not a race thing, or me being influenced by a certain race, because there are girls that are white that do not behave like this. And you guys know the like girls that are white that are, I guess, more ghetto and like the like ghetto areas, or they hang around certain people, or they just weren't raised a certain way. They act the way that you guys believe that the stereotypical black woman should act. And I just find it stupid and just a very ignorant thing to say when people tell me I'm just not as ghetto, I'm just like different. And yeah, the last topic I was going to speak of that kind of comes with all this is the shame. Like I said, shame around certain activities, shame around like games like D&D, tennis, golf, wanting to learn how to swim and like kayak and like surf. I've always wanted to learn how to surf, which I will do. Liking my hair in a certain style. Like I've always worn my natural hair. On this channel, you see my natural hair more than anything, but I like to switch up my hair. I'm black, that's what we do. But anytime I wear straight hair, it's because I'm whitewashed. If a girl from a certain area wears like a 20-inch lace front with her, like she like lays down her hair in the front, she's just black and she likes the trends. I'm whitewashed because I don't do it the way they do it so that it's more black, you know. But I don't dislike my own hair and my hair texture and my skin color and my culture. I never have. Like you guys, people will constantly hear me talk about my culture, both sides of it, which are both black. Like there's parts of Egypt that I guess are more white or so, but there's black parts of Egypt. Like if some people have like 4C hair, light eyes, brown skin, you can't mistake them for anything other than being black. And they have black culture, especially the ones in the USA who group in with the other black kids. On that continent, it's a mix of like people, you know? But also shame around like the way I spoke, because I didn't have what they would call like a hood accent, which I really just didn't understand how you got that. We are all from the same area, you know. This city that I stay in, this isn't a city that people come out with an accent. It's not far from Chicago at all. So a lot of people who are here are from Chicago. They have like the Chicago accent, which is like associated with being black. What about the black people that aren't from Chicago? Are they just not black? Like I wasn't born and raised in any bad parts of Chicago. The only times I guess I've lived there would be like the suburb area. I was like, so again, I don't have that accent. I definitely have a different accent compared to white girls though, and they'll point it out because I'm not white. Like I just hate that the fact that being well-mannered and smart means you're white. The fact that wearing certain clothes means you're white. Like if I don't wear the trendy black clothes and I wear more of white clothes, I either think I'm bougie, I think I'm too good, or I'm just whitewashed. And I'm like, no, I just like the way this looks more. And again, not all black girls who are not whitewashed dress in that manner. That's what I hate, is if you don't fit the mold of being this one black, like this type of black girl, you either hate yourself, you're whitewashed, you're colorist, you like white men, like you people just take away your blackness, which I've been told a lot of times. I've been accused by so many people of like being obsessed with like white men because of the way I act and dress, and I was like, no, actually, not at all. In fact, people are shocked when I have like ever been attracted to men of my own race. They're like, you know, I just thought you'd like date white guys. I'm like, why? They're like, it's just the way you act. I was like, so I can't be intelligent and well off and like a black man. If I do, there's something wrong with me, or he has to also be, I guess, whitewashed, you know. And I do tend to go for like, I guess, black men that fit that like what I am. I guess that's just what I like. Even like growing up in a church and carrying myself a certain way was considered whitewashed. And I was like, why is it having morals and valuing my body considered being white when it's just who I am? Like I've never not valued my body or never not valued myself. And that's not a white trait, that's somebody with self-respect. But in all, I have learned to embrace that fact that I have these traits and that I grew up in a certain area and that I have traits that are seen as, I guess, being bougie. I'd rather be seen as bougie than ghetto, I'm not gonna lie. And that's okay with me. I mean, I don't really, if people find that as me hating being black, because there's people who always accuse that like, even the girls that are black that date white men of like hating themselves and hating their background. There's girls I know that are black that date white men who act stereotypically black, who love themselves. They just happen to have romantic attraction to somebody outside of their race. That doesn't mean that they hate themselves, you know. And I have noticed that more often girls that I guess fit into the category of whitewash that they put me in do tend to date black men. Maybe they just feel more, I mean, not black men tend to date white men due to their area. Not even that they don't like black men, it's the area they're in. Like that's who's closest and more convenient. Not saying there's not black men who live in these suburbs. There was always a black boy who was my age, but he was mixed. He had like a white dad, and he lived in that area. And most times when you date within your like, I guess, area, to date people that like are in your income, like your tax bracket, I guess, or like into the same things you are and from the same background as you are, you tend to date people in your area. If that's people of another race, you know what I'm saying? Like there's white people who are in like a black area, they date around their area, which just happens to be black people. Doesn't mean they hate themselves, doesn't mean they're blackwash, if that's even a term. But I've just learned to embrace all of that. Like I learned to embrace all my talents that are seen as like white talents, my sports. Like I love tennis. I'll tell people that I like tennis, and I'll get like, from certain people, most people don't care, but from certain people, like weird looks, like, isn't that like a white sport? Like if I tell people like I want to rock climb or like kayak or like do things like that, they're like, aren't those white sports? I'm like, I don't remember them being advertised as a race. They're just things you can enjoy. I've rock climbed twice now, and that was like mainly with school events. Like we had things we could do and I enjoyed it, you know? And yeah, like I've just learned to embrace that stuff and all the things that give me the trope of being like a whitewashed black girl, and just to celebrate myself and still embrace my natural black hair, my natural black skin, and my natural black body, and things that are in my black culture. Like I've never not embraced them. I used to get made fun of for like not knowing like black dances, like the Cupid Shuffle, like just those like dancey trends. That also made me whitewashed. I could dance though, I was a trained dancer. I just didn't take time to learn those trends. Even now I don't really take time to learn TikTok dances, which is like a black thing to do. but I still embrace who I am, and I'm not gonna not express and claim blackness, even if people are gonna say, well, you don't count because you're whitewashed, which I personally don't think. There's times when I don't display that at all. But this video was basically just about like relating to that and learning to accept yourself and learning that you cannot feel bad about being in certain groups in certain areas that are considered more well off and better off, and allowing people to tell you that that takes away from your blackness, because it actually doesn't. You're still black. You still have black experiences. You're never gonna not experience racism, colorism, and just the negative things that come with being black, which I'm not saying being black is bad, but anyone who's black can admit that you have had negative experiences around your race, which is just the way it is. I mean, it's not good, it's not bad, it just is what it is at this point. Now, some parts of it are bad, like just the negative things we have to see when it comes around, like when it comes to black people, like watching them die, watching them lose their lives due to violence and stuff, like with any other groups or anything, or even just hearing negative stereotypes about yourself as a black woman in dating. Those are still things I experience. Even people assuming worse, like I have bad traits due to my skin color and then being shocked when I don't. That's still stuff I experience. Even like racism and slurs, still stuff I experience. Despite where I am, despite how I behave, I'm still gonna be black. Like that's the thing I don't understand. But yeah, video was just about like being able to relate to girls that live that same experience and telling them not to feel like they're less than or less black or less connected to who they are because of a label that's been placed on them. Embrace who you are and enjoy who you are, and continue to grow in things you want to grow in, and don't let somebody put you in a box. Live your life. And yeah, I hope that video reached who it needed to reach. If you want more content like this and more videos where I explain my experiences, whether that's my weight loss, my, I guess, blackness, my beauty tips, all that stuff, I'd love for you to stick around and subscribe and follow me on all the social media that's linked in my bio below. I hope you have a good day, and I hope you do something that makes you happy today.